Having found a rare prehistoric bone, our first task is to determine its age. So here's how radiocarbon dating works. First, you need a machine like this one in the picture. Of all the elements on Earth, seen here in the periodic chart, perhaps carbon is the most important. It's found in most cells in plants and animals. Without carbon, there would be probably no life on Earth. Here I illustrate a molecule of blood sugar called glucose containing 6 C12 carbons. I told you that most of the carbon in our body is C12, which is very stable and doesn't fall apart. As it turns out, the atmosphere contains an unstable form of carbon called C14. While alive, plants and animals absorb and maintain the same level of C14 that's found in the atmosphere. From the time these animals die, they stop absorbing C14. Because C14 is very unstable, it begins to fall apart and disappear. Comparing the amount of C14 in the dead organism to levels found in the atmosphere, you can learn when that organism died. Here's a fictitious example. In 1725, George Washington cuts down a cherry tree. His father uses the wood to construct a porch on Mount Vernon. A scientist comes along in 2014 and carbon dates the wood. Amazingly, it dates back almost 300 years. Well, we're not done yet. Even though we can now tell how old fossils might be, we have to be able to identify what kinds of plants or animals they were. Here's where we become experts in DNA genetic analysis. If you manage to get through this, I'll really be impressed. All living organisms are made up of building blocks called cells. There are many specialized cells that make up the structures in our body. For instance, there are bone cells, muscle cells, brain cells, and so on. All cells have one thing in common. There exists a master blueprint found in chromosomes that is present in the nucleus of every cell. Every cell in your body contains a set of 46 chromosomes. If I was to discover a fossil of a bone in my backyard and found that the cells contained 46 chromosomes, I would suspect that that was a human bone. Likewise, 78 chromosomes would mean I probably found a dog. There's a list for chromosome numbers for almost all living species. Every cell in your body has a nucleus containing 46 chromosomes. In the diagram, you can visualize a nucleus of a cell, and inside it are chromosomes. Those chromosomes contain strands of deoxyribonucleic acid, or DNA. The strands of DNA are built like ladders whose rungs, or steps, are made up of various combinations of essential amino acids. These are called genes, and how these amino acids are arranged determine the differences between various plants and animals. Example, if I find a human bone in Michigan containing 46 chromosomes, and I'm able to determine the gene sequence, it might match, say, those people living in Asia. We might conclude that this human or his relatives originally came from Asia. Now let's put our expertise to work for us. Remember those Clovis points found in Colorado? As you know, rock spear points were never living and have no carbon. How are you supposed to date them? Simple. Careful examination revealed that traces of blood were found on the points. DNA genetic analysis revealed two things. First, that the blood was from camels, horses, and woolly mammoths. Secondly, radiocarbon dating showed that the blood was from 13,000 years ago. This data allows us to conclude that the Clovis points were used 13,000 years ago to kill and butcher large animals that existed at that time. The Clovis lived in North America for almost 500 years. Rather suddenly, 10,500 years ago, their fossils disappeared from the strata. Here's what it looked like. Very old artifacts are found very deeply in the soil. Newer fossils are found close to the surface. All the large animal and Clovis remains were discovered right up to about 10,500 years, and then nothing is found closer to the surface. It's as though they disappeared off the face of the earth. You won't believe what happened. Hold on.
A comet nearly 3 miles wide plunges through the atmosphere. It detonates above North America with a force equal to 20 million megatons. The explosion sends a trail of fiery fragments toward the continent below.
The comet probably entered Earth's atmosphere above the continental glacial formation, somewhere over Canada. Incredible fires resulted in destabilizing the ice pack. Smoke, resulting in thick clouds, created a darkness that continued for a long time. Because of the darkness, the temperatures dropped, putting all North American life at risk. It was thought that this led to the extinction of many large animals. Horses were completely killed off and never to return until Christopher Columbus brought Spanish horses to America in 1493. That business about the comet is still being questioned. But here's what we know. At over 1,000 Clovis digs, there's a layer of black material immediately over the Clovis strata. This black mat looks like an incinerated layer of plant material, as though fires had caused it. Microscopic exam revealed that it contained out-of-this-world materials that could only have been brought to Earth by an object from space. Yes, the Clovis did pretty much disappear, and especially their stone tool technology. But take heart. A few years ago, remains of a 1-year-old Clovis boy was found in Montana. He had died immediately following the comet. After more than 12,000 years, DNA could be identified that demonstrated his origins from 2 Asian races. The same genetic makeup as 80% of our Native Americans today. Apparently enough Clovis relocated south to start new cultures, and the people survived. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey through time. I hope you found it interesting. Oh, by the way, when the scientists had finished examining the DNA remains of that little Montana boy, out of respect for Native Americans, he was buried with full Cheyenne tribal ceremony on the land he was found.